The next memorial you'll see on the right is a tribute to the Persian Gulf War that took place between 1990 and 1991. The memorial's theme is leadership, with the words duty, honor, country. It depicts George H. Bush, the serving president, to his right, General Colin Powell, to his left, General Norman Swratzkoph, and to his right, a statue of a female soldier honoring the first time women served in battle as frontline soldiers in an American war. Also known as Operation Desert Storm, it began when Saddam Hussein invaded his small, oil-rich neighbor, Kuwait, in the summer of 1990. Iraqi leader Saddam Hussein ordered the invasion and occupation of neighboring Kuwait in early August 1990. Alarmed by these actions, fellow Arab powers such as Saudi Arabia and Egypt called on the United States and other Western nations to intervene. Hussein defied United Nations Security Council demands to withdraw from Kuwait by mid-January 1991, and the Persian Gulf War began with a massive U.S.-led air offensive known as Operation Desert Storm. On August 6, 1990, President Bush dramatically declared this aggression will not stand. With the Iraqi forces poised near the Saudi Arabian border, the Bush administration dispatched 180,000 U.S. troops to protect the Saudi kingdom. In a sharp departure from American foreign policy during the Reagan presidency, Bush also organized an international coalition against Iraq. He convinced Turkey and Syria to close Iraqi oil pipelines. He won Soviet support for an arms embargo and established a multinational army to protect Saudi Arabia. In the United Nations, the administration succeeded in persuading the Security Council to adopt a series of resolutions condemning the Iraqi invasion, demanding restoration of the Kuwaiti government, and imposing an economic blockade. President George H. Bush's foreign policy team forged an unprecedented international coalition consisting of the NATO allies and the Middle Eastern countries of Saudi Arabia, Syria, and Egypt to oppose this Iraqi aggression. Although Russia did not commit troops, it joined the United States in condemning Iraq, its longtime client state. The Department of State orchestrated the diplomacy for this grand coalition's effective air campaign in January 1991, which was followed by Operation Desert Storm, a 100-hour land war which expelled Iraqi forces from Kuwait. After 42 days of relentless attacks by the Allied coalition in the air and on the ground, U.S. President George H.W. Bush declared a ceasefire on February 28th. By that time, most Iraqi forces in Kuwait had either surrendered or fled. President Bush's decision to liberate Kuwait was an enormous political and military gamble. The Iraqi army, the world's fourth largest at the time, was equipped with Exocet missiles, top-of-the-line Soviet T-72 tanks, and long-range artillery capable of firing nerve gas. But after a month of Allied bombing, the coalition forces had achieved air supremacy, had destroyed thousands of Iraqi tanks and artillery pieces, supply routes and communication lines, and command and control bunkers. Plus, they had limited Iraqis' ability to produce nuclear, chemical, and biological weapons. Iraqi troop morale suffered so badly under the bombing that an estimated 30% of Baghdad's forces deserted before the ground campaign even started. The Allied ground campaign relied on deception, mobility, and overwhelming air superiority to defeat the larger Iraqi army. The Allied strategy was to mislead the Iraqis into believing that the Allied attack would occur along the Kuwaiti coastline and Kuwait's border with Saudi Arabia. Meanwhile, General Norman Swratzkoph, American commander of the coalition forces, shifted more than 300,000 American, British, and French troops into western Saudi Arabia, allowing them to strike deep into Iraq. Only 100 hours after the ground campaign started, the war ended. Saddam Hussein remained in power, but his ability to control events in the region was dramatically curtailed. The Persian Gulf conflict was the most popular U.S. war since World War II. It restored American confidence in its position as the world's sole superpower and helped exorcise the ghost of Vietnam that had haunted American foreign policy debates for nearly 2 decades. The doubt, drift, and demoralization that began with the Vietnam War and the Watergate scandal appeared to have ended.